Hey everybody, welcome back to a video. So Derek and I are continuing the series that an analog in your pocket. Are you just happy to see me? And today we're going to be going over the Namco System 1 core, because over the last few weeks Jotego and his team have added a metric crap ton of games to this core, making it one of the best on the system in my opinion if you like Splatterhouse. I'm going to show you all the games that run, how to get this core downloaded, set up, and good to go so you can start enjoying some Splatterhouse and every other game on the Namco System 1 currently available. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. But there are a ton of fun games on the Namco System 1 core, ranging from Hall of Fame level good like Splatterhouse or Pac-Mania to some also ran games I'll show you in the end of the video. But honestly, you should be playing this today. Just be aware that you do need to be a Jotego beta member right now on Patreon, because you do need the beta key to run these games. It has not yet gone public. Now, to get these over onto your Analogue Pocket, you can use whatever updater you want. I use Pocket Updater, and I just recommend doing Update All because there's been a lot of different core updates and added cores to Pocket in the last couple of months. If you haven't refreshed recently, definitely just pick Update All. This will bring down all of the cores and all of the games, and if you put your Analogue Pocket Jotego beta key in the root directory of the micro SD card, it'll also drop that into all the appropriate folders, doing the work for you. And then from there, you are up and running on Namco System 1. It'll be under Arcade Multi. Just pick System 1 and pick whatever game you want. But something like this game right here, Pac-Man, is just such a fun time. This is the greatest type of thing on Analogue Pocket in my opinion when you're on the go. Quick pick up and play arcade games you can just kind of have a fun time with. But there's definitely different options in the cores depending on what game you're playing, so I want to go over just a few of them depending on what you want to do with the system, and we'll get there in just a moment. But I love Pac-Man Theater here, trying to run away from all these ghosts. This is a game that has so much charm and personality, and honestly it is definitely worth playing. But in Tate or vertical mode, in handheld mode, it can be a little bit small, but I don't mind that so much. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. Now, you can remap all the controls, and for the most part they're set up correctly, but you can rotate the screen here or not rotate it. It's not going to be very useful at all if you're playing in handheld mode or docked mode, but this is something that if you want to rotate your LCD screen, or even if you go to some sort of digital to analog converter, you can do Tate mode on a CRT television. So do be aware, if you want to get a larger image, you can do Tate mode on an LCD screen or on a CRT with the right adapters. Now, moving over to the game that pretty much everyone remembers and loves from Namco System 1 is Splatterhouse. This is definitely the most exciting game on the core for me personally, and I think it is the best game on the Namco System 1. So definitely, if you've never played Splatterhouse before, check it out. This is an amazing version of the game. It's the arcade original, and honestly the arcade version still is the best. The TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine port is a fun time, but for me and my money, the arcade version will always be best, followed very closely by the FM Towns version, which we definitely can't play on Analogue Pocket. And this course started its life last October. This was a Halloween release, but Jotego and his team have been adding a ton of games to it, and honestly the list got like 10 deeper in the last 10 days. That's why I'm finally doing a System 1 video for you guys. But these are just icons of the arcade scene. Splatterhouse launched an entire franchise. While they really haven't done much with it recently, and the Xbox 360 game was not very good, the original 3 Splatterhouse games are just filled with charm and flair, and they're an absolute blast to play. Now, before anyone leaves it in the comments below, if you do try to play these cores and you can't use the controls, you can't put coins in, that means you either are not a Jotego Patreon member or you didn't add your beta key. So that is the reason that happens. Pretty much anytime I talk about one of these, I get a couple comments talking about they can't control the game or coin it up. That is why. But definitely check Splatterhouse out. It's a great implementation. It feels like 98% of the way there. Now, on games that don't need any introduction that work on the core, Galaga 88 is here. It works flawlessly. It's a ton of fun. Definitely one of the precursors for the modern shmup, so you should definitely check that one out, and it is available. But games that you might not be aware of that are available to play today, something like Blazer. This is basically like Mercs from Capcom, except done by Namco, and you have a tank. Spectacular soundtrack and audio quality on the core as well. Listen, and I'll be right back. The sound quality coming out of the core is awesome, and I'm pretty sure that most people probably aren't going to remember or played Blazer, so leave me a comment down below and tell me, did you know this game existed? Have you played it in arcades? Are you going to play it on the Pocket? I would be curious because this is a deeper cut as far as Namco System 1 is concerned. And that's the fun thing about this core. For every single Splatterhouse there is a Blazer, a game that is fun but probably not many people are actually aware of. And when you get into the Japanese exclusives, that gets even a little bit deeper, and there's so many fun games to check out here. It's always great to get a multi-core in the mix. Something like Pistol Daimyo, very weird game, very fun game, kind of plays like Flappy Bird except on the Namco System 1, is definitely another game you should check out. It's another game that's running so well on the Namco System 1 core, and that is always a good thing. There's going to be something here for everyone to discover. Maybe not every single game will be your favorite. They definitely aren't all my favorites, but there's at least one or two games you probably never played that you're going to totally get into. Pistol Daimyo is totally a vibe. You're either going to love it or hate it. The gameplay is quite difficult, but once you actually get a hand of what the game's asking from you, you will definitely start doing better. Now, speaking of shmups, you're also going to get a Dragon Spirit core, and this one is awesome. I absolutely love it. It's probably down to the fact that it's mostly a kaiju battle game. You are a gigantic dragon. You're going to see the Loch Ness Monster. You're going to see flying squirrels. You're going to see all manner of weird animal and beasts, and that's why I kind of love this. It just has that fantasy vibe, kind of feels like a shmup in the Conan the Barbarian universe, and it's one, again, if you've never played before, I can't recommend enough. Now, moving over to another shmup, Blast Off, another classic here. These are going to be hard as nails, though. They do not pull any punches. Death means a great deal when you die in these games. These are more of those late 80s shmups where difficulty was king, so be prepared to get kicked back a lot and probably frustrated by these games if you haven't played them at all before. But that is where the fun is. That difficulty is going to hook you in. You're going to want to get better at the game, and you're going to think you're going to play for 20 minutes and suddenly be there for 2 hours. So definitely another one to check out. But I would say all of the shmups on the system, my favorite's got to be Dangerous Seed, because it has this H.R. Geiger Aliens aesthetic to it. Some of the backgrounds look a little bit like organic pipes turning into a ribcage or some sort of other biomechanical animal, and of course it's married to a super competent shmup. Not saying it's an A tier, we're definitely still in the B tier here, but it is another awesome Namco System 1 game that works so incredibly well on the current Analogue Pocket core, and that's always a good thing. Getting so many new games from Jotego and his team, absolutely everyone is always happy to see something like that. But again, something like Pac-Man here, it's just such an iconic game, but when I first started it up, there was a slight issue with the controller mapping. I don't know what's going on, maybe it was just my controller, but I had to remap the buttons once to get this in particular game to actually control. So if you see that issue whatsoever, go ahead and just make sure you do that. Moving on to Tank Force here, this is another fun game, kind of a bite-sized game. There's not too much meat on Tank Force's bones, but what is here is fun, and again, it's another arcade game that you've either never heard of before or probably haven't thought of in years. And that's the great thing about FPGA cores in general. Every time a board has more than one game built for it, getting the most popular game like Splatterhouse working is going to lead you to getting something like this game working. Sure, it's not as popular, sure, it's not quite as fun, but it still is a good time, and it's something that you can play on the go. Have a 15-minute train ride, play a few rounds of this game, you're satisfied, you got your gaming in for the day, and you can move on and do whatever else you want. You'll see here that I did manage to game over, and in these games there are different settings per individual game, so just make sure that you do check the core settings out per game. I'm not going to go over every single thing with you, but every single control setup is going to be slightly different. Now, to launch a new game, just go into core settings and you'll go to load arcade game, and that's where the entire list of everything is going to be. I hit the wrong button there just a moment. Just go ahead and pick a new game and load arcade game, and you're off to the races. Or something like tennis here. Maybe not the best game on the system, but it is a fun experience, and I do love these pastel colorways the artists at Namco use for the actual game. But if you go ahead and run Pocket Update, or if you have that JT beta.bin file in your SD card and everything goes on the update, you'll be playing all of these games today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but we're done. Go play some Splatterhouse, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.